in Tyrone. This comes after a big rally yesterday at Ardboe on the banks of Lough Neagh. The protesters then claimed that houses and jobs will be threatened if the mining goes ahead, and they're calling for a public inquiry. Margaret Gilmore reports.
The rally was held at the site of an ancient monument. The demonstrators chose the old cross at Ardboe because they're worried that places like this may be lost if mining goes ahead. 2,500 people turned up for the rally. As they gathered, a flotilla of more than 30 fishing boats sailed past in protest at the threat to the livelihood of fishermen on Lough Neagh. The demonstrators want a public inquiry set up by the government before companies who want to invest in lignite mining even begin prospecting. And they want more research and more consultation with the community around Lough Neagh. It's known that some 300 million tonnes of lignite will be found in the area, but the demonstrators claim that even though it might prove a bonanza to farmers and landowners, the benefits in the long run for the community will be short-lived. The rally was organised by a group calling itself Lignite Action, and their demonstration didn't end there. Today they carried more than 2,000 letters of protest to the Department of Economic Development in Belfast. The letters, all handwritten, call on the Industry Minister, Dr. Rhodes Boyson, to hold an inquiry.
We are not satisfied that enough work has been done to give the community full rights of participation, nor have we been given full facts.
Do you in reality, though, think the government's going to change its mind over this?
Well, there are over 300 million tonnes of lignite in that area, so clearly it is a very important resource to be developed. But the costs in terms of the community being destroyed and in terms of job loss, which we reckon at nearly 300, and the consequences for going ahead and mining are so great in terms of the impact in that area. These questions have to be looked into.
What about the money, though, and the jobs that lignite mining will bring?
Well, the estimate of the Northern Ireland Economic Council is that only 300 to 400 jobs would be created. And if we lose that number, and all those jobs that would be created are not going to go to the local community, the sum total is that the community on the jobs issue will not be any better off.
Officials from the Department of Economic Development spoke to the protesters before taking in the letters. Later, they issued a statement saying that all of them would be looked at and considered before a decision was made on issuing licenses for the exploration of lignite.
Well, meanwhile, it's been confirmed that the Kilroot power station will be equipped to burn processed lignite from the mine at Crumlin. The inclusion of lignite as a future option to coal or oil is disclosed in the announcement of a contract for boiler conversion at Kilroot. The order, which is worth almost £40 million, has gone to a company from Tyneside, Northern Engineering Industries. They will start to dismantle the oil-fired equipment in March. They should have the job completed within 3 years. The total conversion is costing the Electricity Board £94 million, but it will make possible fuel economies of up to 30 million a year.
Steps. Industry Minister Dr. Boyson says the mining operation has to be set against the economic benefits.
Netherley, the headquarters of the Department of Economic Development, and the Lignite Action Group takes its campaign to the offices of the Industry Minister, Dr. Rhodes Boyson. They handed in a bag full of protest letters, 2,500 in all. Open-cast lignite mining, they claim, would destroy the environment around Lough Neagh, result in widespread flooding and devastate a whole community. They say all they want is a fair hearing.
Well, our basic demand is for a public inquiry at an early stage before the prospecting licenses are issued. We also want research to be carried out on the possible impact of lignite mining on our area and on our community. Basically, the lack of information and the quality of consultation has been inadequate to this point in time, and that's what we are basically making our demands about.
Nearly 3,500 people attended a protest march and rally in Ardboe in East Tyrone yesterday. In advance of the meeting, the government moved to allay their fears. Mining and the construction of a mine-mouth power station would mean more jobs. Land would be restored and could become more valuable. And talk of widespread flooding or damage to fish stocks in Lough Neagh was totally misleading, the government statement said. But the group says those assurances aren't sufficient.
We have calculated that approximately 300 jobs would be lost, and that the jobs replaced in the calculations of the Northern Ireland Council of Economic Development would be only between 300 and 400. So one may cancel the other out. The other thing is that jobs don't necessarily go to people who have come from the Loch Shore, whose livelihoods are fishing and building and so on. They may well go to outside people who come in with the mining companies, which change the character and culture of the area. And you can't resettle a community when you've disrupted it to that extent. The destruction of the community seems too high a price to pay for the people in that area. They are totally against their community being destroyed.
The group insists they're determined to fight open cast mining all the way. But the Industry Minister, Dr. Boyson, says there's no need for all-out confrontation.
I don't see this as confrontation. I see it as people concerned about their environment. Like all people, including myself, I'm concerned about one's environment. All change upsets certain people. And I mean, they are good people and they are concerned about what they're seeing. But I've also read and I've studied, because it's obviously part of my responsibilities to the province, of where, say, in Germany, there has been a lot of lignite taken up, and where the soil has been put back later, even more fertile than before, and where people, instead of selling their land to the people taking out the lignite, have leased it over, say, 7 years, and then got it back more fertile. We have to look into all this. It's early days yet. I appreciate why they came to see us. I appreciate at the same time that if the economy of Northern Ireland is going to take off, then it needs much cheaper electricity than now, and we'll have to balance the two.
Residents of the Ardboe area of Loch Ness have published a booklet outlining their fears of proposed lignite mining on the Loch Shore. The Lignite Action group wants a public inquiry and independent research carried out into the possible effects of open-cast mining.
Lignite Action has been fighting for almost a year to open cast mining going ahead in the area until there's been full consultation with local residents. In January they held a protest rally. Today they published 1,000 copies of a booklet outlining their case, which they say is one of community survival.
Well, I think it would end the close-knit community that exists, would end fishing on Loch Ness from that community. It would lose 300 jobs at least, and the result would be devastating. The community at the moment is totally opposed to lignite mining going ahead, and that is the view of the community as it stands. And I think it's up to the government to do a proper assessment on all the effects before people can be presented with what action they will take.
What sort of action can you envisage?
Well, I think that people would need to be evicted from their homes because they will not leave that community easily.
If mining takes place, some people will inevitably have to move. The individuals, the property owners, would receive full compensation. But the disruption to those individuals has to be balanced against the greater good of the community at large in Northern Ireland, for whom we'd all expect to receive cheaper electricity as a result of lignite development. At the local level in the Ardboe Moortown area, we could expect benefits in terms of new employment both in mining and in the construction of a power station, which would be necessary